All praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wawakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you true, sincere brethren out there, pushing out this purified truth, cleansing this wicked, defiled kingdom with this word, and to the rest of the church who believe as well. The water to Yahweh Shai, because without him, none of this would even be possible. All right, so let's go to the book of, I'm going to start with Genesis 39 and verse 5. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptians' house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. All right. So Joseph was not an Egyptian. He was an Israelite. But he dwelled in the land of Egypt. All right. Joseph was known as a prosperous man. All right. Because the Lord was behind him. So Joseph, being an Israelite, that means he is from the same lineage of the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and so-called Native Americans today. A lot of people look at Egypt as this great, great place. They see the pyramids that were there, or that are there, which we built, by the way, in slavery. They see the history behind Egypt and think, well, Egypt must be one of the greatest civilizations on the earth. The reason why Egypt is looked at to be so great is because the Lord blessed Egypt the Lord blessed Egypt for Joseph's sake, who was an Israelite. So Egypt was made great because of Israel. All right. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptians' house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had, in the house and in the field. So you can't be giving all this credit to so-called Egypt without giving credit to the Israelites. The Egyptians are looked at to be some of the wisest people on the face of the earth. Like I said, going into their history, people look at that civilization as being so great. But the Egyptians were not the wisest people on earth. The Israelites are the wisest people on earth. And an example of that was King Solomon. All right. So let's go to the book of 1 Kings 4 and 30. And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt. So Egypt was great because of Joseph. Solomon was wiser than all of the Egyptians, whom also was another Israelite. We are not Africans. We are not African Americans. The real Africans are Hamites. And when you look at the ancient Egyptians, they don't even dwell in that land anymore. The ancient Egyptians, I believe, today would be known as the Sudanese. Okay? So seeing that Solomon was wiser than all the Egyptians, why do so many people keep giving all their glory and their credit to the land of Africa? We dwelled in Africa, but civilization did not start in Africa. Civilization did start in the East, but it wasn't in Africa, so to speak. All right? We are a people of a great history. We have a lot of great history. And our people reject it. They forsake it. They look at it as the white man's history, and it's not. Okay? And Solomon's, 1 Kings 4:30 again. And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt. So Solomon surpassed the wisdom of the Egyptians. Egypt was great because the Lord blessed it for Joseph's sake, because Joseph, being an Israelite, dwelled in the land of Egypt. Okay? We come from the land of Israel. We don't come from no damn Africa. Africa is not the motherland, but the nation of Israel. All right? So I'm going to go to Galatians 4:26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. So Jerusalem, or Israel, is the mother of us all. Today, you're told Africa is the motherland. We need to go back to, quote unquote, Africa. Well, not according to the scriptures. According to the scriptures, which is the truth in terms of history, documentation, records. All right. This isn't just some book that you pick up and read to get inspired and that's it. This is a book of history. And according to this book of records, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. All right. So currently, we are not in the land of Israel. Currently, Israel is pretty much being split between Esau and Ishmael. But eventually, we are going to get our land back. Okay? So the problem is, the true Israelites are not in their homeland. And you look at how this world is, all the wickedness in the world, all that goes to the world being turned upside down thanks to the so-called white man. All right? So the Lord did not choose Africa. He chose Israel. He did not choose Africa. Okay? Now we do have Israelites in Africa, which I'll bring that out in a second. All right? Let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 11:10. For the land, whether thou goest to possess it, it is not the land of Egypt. So I'm going to say this again. All right. Deuteronomy 11:10. For the land, whether thou goest in to possess it, it is not as the land of Egypt, from whence ye came out, because we did dwell in Egypt. We were held captive in Egypt. All right. Where thou sowest thy seed, and waterest it with thy foot as a garden of herbs. But the land whether ye go to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinketh water of the rain of heaven. A land which the Lord thy power careth for. So what does that show? The Lord don't give a damn about Egypt. He doesn't care for Egypt. Okay, at the beginning of the verse, it tells you that it is not as the land of Egypt. Okay, so verse 12 again. A land which the Lord thy God careth for, the eyes of the Lord thy God are always upon it from the beginning of the year, even unto the end of the year. So what land is that speaking of? It's speaking of the land of Israel. Okay, before it was known as the land of Israel, it was the land of Canaan. You had the Canaanites there. But we removed the Canaanites because the Lord preserved that land for us. And even before it was the land of Canaan, it was known as the Garden of Eden. Okay? So Israel is the motherland. All right? Israel is the top land on the planet Earth. And that's why those who run this earth, they diligently fight to make sure that they keep that land. You have many people who may not believe the Bible, but I'll tell you this, those who are ruling over you and who rule this world, they do. So a peon's opinion really does not make a difference, because those in the power seat know that these scriptures are real and they try to fight against it. Yet they're trying to still remain in our land. All right. And you don't want to be a Hamite, because at the end of the day, they're going into slavery as well. It's not just Esau. All right. You looking at the so-called African is going into slavery as well. They're the ones who sold us off to Esau. Okay. And I believe you could find that account. One of those accounts is in I believe it's in Amos. Okay. This is Isaiah 45:14. Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia, and of the Sabines, men of stature, shall come over unto thee. They shall be thine, they shall come after thee in chains. They shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God. So those you know as the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Hamites in general, they are going to be thrown in captivity. They're going to suffer in slavery. And before Africa was called Africa, okay, it was known as the land of Ham. Egypt was known as Mizraim. All right. And the Lord is telling you that those actual Egyptians, the actual Hamites, not Israelites who are dwelling there, but the actual Hamites are going to be thrown in slavery. They are going to be put in chains, and they're going to bow down and serve us. Okay. Just like Esau and the rest of the nations. But Esau, he's going to get it the worst. Okay. So why would you want to be an African, seeing that the Africans are going to be slaves to the Lord's people? And we are the Lord's people. There is a difference between us and these goddamn Egyptians. Let me pull that out right quick. Exodus 11:7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue. And the Egyptians are looked at as dogs. All right. Against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So there is a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. Although the Lord blessed Egypt for Joseph's sake, the Lord's not dealing with Egypt or the Egyptians. In fact, when you go to Egypt right now, that land is what's the word I want to look for? That land is basically desolate. Yeah, you can still find, relics and things there, but Egypt as a whole ain't booming no more. So why in the hell do people look at Africa or Egypt as the motherland when the Bible, which comes from the words of Yahweh and Yahweh Shah, the creators of everything you're looking at, are telling you the nation of Israel, all right, are to be looking forward to going back to Jerusalem, not Africa. Okay? And the Lord put a clear difference between us and these goddamn Egyptians. Now, the Lord compares us to Hamites, okay, but we're not Hamites. So let me get that right quick. Let me go to Amos. Because, some people, might read certain scriptures and then they get confused and then they try to teach it and it's wrong. All right. But the thing is, if you're wrong and you get corrected, just repent. The problem comes from being corrected and told the truth and you still want to stay in your foolishness. That's the biggest issue. Amos 9:7. Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? Because when you go into the word Ethiopia, it pretty much just means black or dark skin. Kadar, basically. Okay? So the nation of Israel at that time were more known to be dark skinned, just as the Ethiopians. But then again, all nations were. But he reframed it, or he phrased it to say this because We did dwell among the Hamites. We did have darker skin, just as the Hamites. But the word Ethiopia itself really just goes into the word black. So we were being compared to the Ethiopians because we were slaves in the land of Egypt, okay? Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord? Have not I brought Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Ker? So what does that show? You have Israelites to this day who are still in Africa. Okay? You have Israelites to this day who are still dwelling in what you will know as the land of Africa, which is the land of Ham. But Israel is our motherland, not Africa. Get off that Africa bullshit. All right? This is Isaiah 11:11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, whom are the Israelites, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. So Israel is dispersed throughout the whole earth. So you also have Israelites dwelling in Egypt, in Africa, so to speak. Although we're not Egyptians, you still have some of our people dwelling in that land. Okay, some of us fled from Africa, but some of us also came from Europe when we were thrown in slavery. Africa is not as far as our history goes. Okay? Some may argue that the Egyptians, their civilization is more ancient than, what the Bible is talking about. Well, the scriptures tell you how the Israelites were not the first nation of people created either. Okay? Everything is documented in the Bible. People have arguments, but the Bible already goes into it. How can Adam and Eve been the first people when there are clearly signs that show that they weren't? Well, they weren't the first people. The Bible tells you that. Okay? But nevertheless, you have Israelites dwelling in Egypt. But the Lord is not dealing with the land of Egypt. All right? He's not dealing with the actual Egyptians, the actual Hamites, so to speak, today. Okay? He's dealing with Israel. Israel is the greatest people on earth. So I'm going to close it out with Jeremiah 51:19. The portion of Jacob is not like them. It's not like Ham, the so-called Africans. It's not like Esau, Edom, the so-called white race. It's not like Elam, the so-called East Indians. It's not like Moab, the so-called Chinese. It's not like Ammon, the so-called Japanese. Okay? Israel is a nation that's been placed over all other nations, but right now are under the nations because of our sins. Jeremiah 51:19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things. So Israel's the former of all things. And that includes why Egypt became so great, because of Israel. All right? We make the best music. You have to admit it. I don't care what nobody says. We make the best music. And if you see someone making good music and they may look like they're from another nation, they could be an Israelite. Okay? Other nations can make music, but we make the best music. Okay? We're involved in all types of things, and the things that we get involved in, we dominate it. All right? We're looked at as the scum of the earth, but nevertheless, this civilization only stands because of us, because we keep it great. All right? The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. All right? So get out that I'm an African spirit. We are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. We were also slaves to the so-called Africans, the actual Africans. And we were also sold to the so-called white man from the Africans. We were also those people who crossed the Red Sea. That was us. So Lord willing, this lesson was simple and it was edifying Kahala Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Shalom.